Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my Wednesday YouTube Live. And this is coffee time with me, and hope all of you has a cup of coffee already. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you may have come from Peter and Robin's live chat because they are still going on at the moment. I'm no doubt that some of them will be a little bit later than usual. So hopefully I will be able to demonstrate what I wanted to demonstrate today. Just let me check my audio. Are you guys hearing me okay? I think I'm quite loud at the moment. Just one second. I'm just want to double check a few things. And I need to bring it down the level just a tad. Right, okay, am I good at the moment? So let's say hello to some people, and that will be great. So good afternoon, Patrick. Good morning, Mark. And hi, Christopher. And also Theo. Yeah, welcome. And you finally can join me. I know that you messaged me this morning, so that's very glad that you're here with me. And also lifetime by Tim. Hello, Tim, from Germany. And we were as well. Excellent stuff. And Pei. Hello, Peter. How are you? From Croatia, and Marsha as well. Wow, okay. Andy, hello. Hearing me just fine. Fantastic. And Trevor, oh, my regular Trevor is here. Welcome, 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 and big welcome. So, first of all, I would just like to say thank you for continuous support that I've been given from you guys. And I still want to restart my Facebook Live as what Peter has said, if you haven't been into the channel earlier. Because I would like to restart my daily Facebook Live stream as of hopefully after next week. Not this week, nor this next week, because I'm actually going to be away for a week and doing a little bit of a family break and also some video reviews. So stay tuned for those because I have a lot of things planned already. I've written all the scripts. I just don't want to say what they are at the moment. And also the Tech Tuesday that I mentioned to you guys before is coming alive. Yes! So I hope you guys are as excited as I am, because there will be a lot more stuff than more than just about camera lenses and camera itself. I just want to broaden the appeal to a lot of different areas that a lot of you guys may or may not have heard about, but that will actually enhance your photography and filmmaking journey. So there's a lot of things that I would like to do, and I also noticed that some of you already talking about in Peter's live earlier was that you guys want to see more photography things, and give me a thumb up if you want to hear more about photography more than the gear itself. Not sure how many of you actually seen my Photography 101 series, which I ran for a good 2.5 years. I recently stopped just before the lockdown in London, and I kind of stopped that series just because I usually do that more like a vlog kind of style when I actually go out and do the recording, where after I photo shoots and I just talk about things that it just come to my mind. It's kind of more like a live thing, but it's recorded live, you know what I mean? But it's all about how to improve your photography skills, more looking at the technical side of it, the psychological side of it, more than just about the buttons. And this is what I wanted to do, and for a long time, and I have been doing it actually for the past 2.5 years. And if you don't know what they are, I actually do have a playlist of the Photography 101 in the channel. So go and click it and check it out, because I talked about bokeh, I talk about a lot of different things there, when you should be using bokeh, when you should be using deeper depth of field, what sort of shutter speed you're doing, and kind of, you know, a whole spectrum of things about photography. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that part of it. I'm going to continue doing more later on once I kind of settle myself down. As you know, that a lot had happened over the last month, and I'm still adjusting to everything at the moment. So but I'm back to normal now. I can see that I'm quite bubbly and happy, and that is always good. So I can see that a few more people have finally joined me now, and let's say hello to these people before I get cracking with today's live stream. Hello Christian and Jan, hello there from Denmark. Frank as well, great stuff from Arizona. And Rob, and that's great. And Robin Hill, hello then, good afternoon mate. So yes, unlike what Peter and Robin is talking about, because I already done the 100 to 400 live last week, so this week I'm going to do with the new camera. Yes, it is the E-M10 Mark IV, which is I have right here. You can see once again I have this massive I don't know what you call these things, and what does it look like, a bullhorn or something like that? But anyway, it's a live streaming machine, so that means that I will be able to show you live footage coming out from the E-M10 Mark IV. So that should be exciting. So you can actually see how well the AF is performing in both still and video, because I want to tell you a little bit more about it. And my review video will become will come actually later on. Not as of yet. This is not a review. This is only just like a first look of it, because I literally just got this yesterday, and unlike Robin and Peter, who got the camera before it was announced, I did not get that because I did not ask for it. You know what happened actually early in the month, and obviously there's a lot of family issues there, and I did get the lens 100-400. That's why you saw the review video there. But I just said, you know, I don't think that I could actually do any videos, so I just said no point sending it to me, and let other people you know, have the camera so they can review it, they can do it. I'm not sure entirely, you know, you guys understand that, you know, Olympus usually only have a handful of these test samples, how they call it, for people who review them, whether they're going to be for magazines or other publications, their own ambassadors, and so they only have a limited amount of lenses and gear for testing. So I don't want to just hog it without doing anything. So I just say, okay, yeah, just go ahead, let other people use it. I'll have it as and when I'm ready. So here I am, I'm ready. So I got it back here now, and this is the good thing to show you guys how it works and things like that. I also have a whole bunch of other cameras which I would like to make reference of, because it's an exciting camera, of course, and an E-M10 has always been one of the bread and butter camera for Olympus, and because it's selling extremely well in Japan, and actually in Asia in general. So it's a very important camera for them, and I would like to talk a little bit about this particular point as well, and why that is, and why I think the Mark IV could be the turning point for Olympus in a lot of different ways. So let's get on with it. So just to test it, so I want to see that if you guys can see the footage from this guy here, and then so then you can let me know whether you can actually see things properly. Let me just see what mode is. It's on video mode at the moment, so let me just switch on to the camera, see in the moment, so you can see that this is live. You can see yourself very, very clearly, and obviously that is in the totally wrong shutter speed at the moment, and so you can see that this is live, coming straight from the E-M10 Mark IV. And if you want to check it out, there you go, this is me. Excellent stuff. And okay, now it's in the totally wrong exposures again, but let me just turn it back on, and so you can see that it's working fine, right? It's working fine. So excellent stuff. Okay, so this is working, so that's perfect. So let's talk a little bit about the camera itself. So I personally love the E-M10 Mark III, and if you guys seen my original review back in 2017, this guy was pretty awesome, you know, for the price, for what it's capable of, and it was one of the first Olympus interchangeable lens camera that can shoot 4K video. So that's a big thing for Olympus, you know, like they were never really big on videos, and so this guy was actually the first, beat out of the EM5 and the EM1 to be the first ever interchangeable lens camera to have a 4K capability, and you can even shoot slow motion with 720p resolutions. So it's actually pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool, even though it had only a 16 megapixel sensor. But like I said so many times already, the 16 megapixel is enough for seriously 99.9% of people out there. I don't know why people wanted more resolution, because, like, you know, look, do you really print like a wall size print every single day? If you don't, no, you don't need all that resolution. So if you're purely just for your enjoyment as a photographer, just enjoy your images to share among the social media, so Instagram, Facebook, even put it on your website, you don't need more than 8 or 10 megapixels, to be frank. So 16 is plenty. It's plenty enough. You don't need any more than that. And so it's really cool then. And after nearly 4 years, three and a half years, and the Mark IV finally came out, and I'm super excited about it. You know, even I learned about it some time ago, and I was excited, and I was super excited about the upcoming camera, and also the specs. Even though that you can see, you know, you all seen the Mark IV review by others already, and on paper it doesn't seem to have a lot of upgrades compared to the Mark III. However, there are a couple of subtle differences that makes it a much better camera for a lot of, let's say, EM10 fans or people who are looking into very capable hybrid cameras if you're a beginner. So this is a fantastic camera that I'm sure that a lot of people will enjoy for many, many years to come. And so before I go into a little bit of that, and I already saw that, Rob, you are thinking, I need to talk to you about the wireless setup. All right, okay, not a problem at all. And I will talk to you a little about that separately, but it's actually very cool, right? You can actually see everything you see from the camera. This thing is basically a wireless video streaming machine that used in a lot of video shoots and filming. And it's used for directors and also art directors to see what the cameramans are doing live, so they can actually direct appropriately if they can see things like, let's say in a film set, sometimes it's quite difficult when the director is sitting, let's say, 50 meters away from the cameraman, because we're, depending how big the scene is, and so the ability to see exactly what's going on the camera can give the director or the art directors an instant feedback of exactly what's going on like live. So that is very important for them, and they can actually change a lot of things instantly rather than reshooting it. They can simply use the microphone to actually stop the scene, ask the cameraman to look at, we do that bit there, I just want you to turn right a little bit more to see that little tower there just a little bit more. So now it's a very good and very effective tool. But what it also does is it's actually very good for demonstration like what I'm doing right now. As long as your camera has a HDMI output, you can use this sort of thing to do wireless streaming, just like what I'm doing at the moment. So it's actually a very good and effective way to demonstrate something. And cool. Right, let's see if there are any other questions here before I jump onto the EM10 Mark IV. So how are you setting audio for the EM10 Mark IV? Right, okay. Oh, Burana, hello, good afternoon. The audio, right, okay, so that's one thing that I will talk about, might as well talk about now, is that the EM10 Mark IV doesn't have a mic input jack. So it does have, of course, the built-in mic, which is capable of high-res recording, but just like any built-in mic on cameras, you can't really have the ultra high quality from a dedicated external mic like the Rode gun mic or even the Olympus LSP4 that I rave about all the time, which I have one right here. So this is a fantastic tool. It's a multi-purpose, very versatile little machine here, which I usually, you can see the lead here, I usually connect to my EM5 or the EM1 series cameras and record straight from there. So the EM10 doesn't give you the option, but what you can do is to sync the audio in post-production, which is actually not a difficult thing to do these days. And unlike, I would say, 5-6 years ago, and which you will have to do the manual clapping, so you can see the waveform. There's a big spike there, so you can kind of match that manually in the editing software. But in if you want to do it nowadays, as long as you have some capable editing software like DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, or the Final Cut Pro, I'm pretty sure iMovie should have that similar features as well. But there are a lot of options out there. But most of the modern video editing software will allow you to sync the audio automatically. So all you need to do is select the audio track that you record from an external recorder, and then also the video file itself, because it's got audio burnt into the file itself. So all you need to do is select those two and click sync, and it will be done automatically. So it's very simple, very straightforward. It doesn't really waste a lot of time at all. So it's still very feasible. So you don't have to worry about that too much. So as long as you get a good recorder, so once again, I'm advertising the LSP4 because it's great stuff, and because it's a recorder, so you can record voice into the internal memory, unless the normal Rode mic, which I have also right here, this one is not a recorder, so you do need to plug into something. And because the EM10 Mark III doesn't allow you to plug in anything, so this will become useless. So you will have to use a external recorder if you want high quality professional sounds from the EM10 Mark IV. But other than that, it's a very capable thing for video, which I'm going to talk to you guys about in a minute. So, right, let's see if there's anything else in here. Okay, do you think Zoom H1N handy mount on it like a shotgun mic would work well? Yes, you can do that. Just let me demonstrate. I don't have a Zoom here, but the LSP4 is basically the same thing. It's an external recorder. So if you have a, I have the E-M10 Mark III here, which is basically also the similar sort of form factor to the Mark IV here. If I just mount it on here, so you can see exactly what it looks like. So I can ignore the wire, because let me just unplug it so that it's not confusing. So this is actually what you're gonna get basically. And so you got the E-M10 Mark IV, and you have the external recorder mounted on top of the camera. This is a little shock mount here, which is actually very effective, and I do always want you guys to get this if you are using any type of recorder on top of the camera, because if you hard mounted any recorder directly on top of the hot shoes, any sort of vibrations, knocking, rubbing, motor noise will be heard and felt by the recorder, and then you will get really horrible sound from it. So by having an external shock mount, and it will get you a very smooth, very clean sound, and it's also slightly further away from the mic, sorry, from the actual lens itself. So if your lens has a really high quality motor, so the AF, if it's AF is working, so you may not hear it, but sometimes you do have some of these really lower and cheaper lenses that will have these very noisy AF motor, and then you will pick it up. So the further from the lens, the better. But overall, this is exactly what you will have to do with the Mark IV, and without any sort of cable or mic jack, so you have to plug it in. But other than that, it's totally feasible, totally feasible. Okay, let's go back to the Calvin. Hello, good afternoon. No, don't worry, no problem at all for joining me late. I know many of you actually still with Peter and Robin, so I'll let you guys finish first. So here we go. So this is the Mark IV, and in terms of external appearance, it was shocking just how similar they both are, and because I just show you both side by side at the moment, you can actually see them side by side here. They are almost identical. You know, the only few subtle differences you can see there, first of all, is the Mark IV sign right at the bottom here, and also the grip. The grip is definitely more chunkier, more deeper, and more contour to your hands, which actually makes it a little bit more comfortable to hold it if you want to shoot for a long period of time. I do like it, I do enjoy it, because if you look back into the history of E-M10, the very first E-M10 Mark I, the grip was very flat, so it's almost non-existent, almost like a Pen F. And then the Mark II was starting to get a little bit better, and then the Mark III is almost is sculpted, but it's not very pronounced. So now the Mark IV is definitely finally making it more comfortable to use. It's more in line with the EM5 Mark III, to be quite honest. And so actually, it's not a bad thing. It's actually very good. You do lose a little bit of a slimness, you know, to the actual camera itself. It's not as slim as before, but it's still a very lightweight camera. Only 383 grams of this thing, including battery. Yeah, I'm talking about. And so this is light. This is even lighter than the 410 gram Mark III. I don't know how I remember all this number, to be honest. So this is 410 gram, yeah, with battery and memory card. So this thing is light. You know, like under 400 gram for any camera is super lightweight. And if you use some of the premium lenses on the Olympus lineup, the smaller one, the 1.8 or the f2 versions, like the one here, the 12mm f2. So this is tiny. You can see the entire setup is so small. It's just fantastic, right? It's just really good. So appearance, that's it. You know, there's no difference to the Mark III. It's very similar looking and as gorgeous as ever. I always like the how the EM10 looks. It's definitely more retro looking than the EM1, for instance. The EM1 is more, I would say, more a functional look. You know, it's not so much of this nostalgic, classic, old SLR look, you know. And the EM10 always, to me, is the most beautiful camera on the OMD line. You're not so much Pen F. I still like the Pen F, but on the OMD cameras, I think the EM10 is definitely very, very good looking, especially in silver. I do like it in silver. So this is very good. Oh, Peter is here. That means Peter has arrived, and then so is Robin. So you guys finished, yeah? Have you run out of the battery already? Oh, great stuff. So welcome Robin and welcome Peter in the house. So there you go. So there you go. And this is the EM10 Mark IV external talk about this, and of course you will hear my full review in my proper video later on once I edit them and film them. I haven't done anything yet. So if you're used to the OMD EM10 line, whether it's going to be Mark 1 or Mark 2, but hesitated and didn't get into the Mark 3 because of a number of issues, you'll be happy to know that the Mark 4 is fantastic. Because, let me tell you now, first of all, is that it brings back this silent mode, which is a lot of you guys had complained about the Mark III. I know the silent mode did exist in the Mark III, but only appear in the advanced program mode, which is, you know, you have to go to AP and then select silent mode, and you can't do anything on the PASM, which is actually very annoying for a lot of photographers. For instance, they would just like to, or for the more advanced photographer who just want to use semi-auto like aperture priority, shutter speed priority, or even menu, and they don't have that option for silent shooting, which is electronic shutter. But now you can, with the Mark IV, you can employ silent shooting, electronic shutter mode in PASM, which is good and is a welcome back for the OMD entry-level camera. So this is definitely will please a lot of photographers who didn't upgrade to the Mark III because of that. And second is that the tilt screen, the tilt screen didn't. It actually came back as well. You know, I did actually predict it to gonna have the fully articulated screen because of the hype about, you know, the EM10 is going to be a vlogger's cameras because, you know, that's what everybody wants these days, right? It's for vlogging. And so having a fully articulated screen will help a lot of videographers and also vloggers alike. So they decided to have a flip down screen just like the EPL series instead of the EM5 series flipped out screen. I have reservation of this simply because that, as you know, for selfie, this is perfectly okay. This is fantastic. I love it. But for vlogging, it's not really that practical. Simply because if you look at this, when you flip down the thing, you can see that's where you mount your tripod thing, yeah, you know, or the support. And this is completely blocking it. And so you can't really see yourself once you mount anything underneath the camera. So this is not really a vlogging solution, to be quite honest. But having said that, you know, for photographers or for photography diehards, you'll be happy to know that this is still doable with the perpendicular shots, so you can do low down, 90 degree. Fantastic, right? Because this is what you guys wanted. And I remember that when I did the EM10 Mark III end of term reviews a couple of months ago, you guys all talked about it. Say, oh no, I don't want any flip out screen. All I want is just a flip down screen so I can do photography and things like that. So for those people, there you go. Olympus listened and they didn't change the formula at all, and also introduced the flip down so that for those selfie people, you'll be more than happy. And fantastic. Okay, fantastic then. And anything else that I noticed so far without testing it too much is that the video mode hasn't changed at all. So you can still shoot 4K at 24, 25, 30, and 30 frames per second. There's no 50 or 60 frames per second. That only reserves the 1080. Slow mode is exactly the same. You can only do 720p, unlike the EM1 and the EM5, you can't do 1080 slow mode at 120 frames per second. So this is a little bit of a bummer. You know, I would like to see that just to bump up a little bit to 1080 at least, but not at the end of the world, because most people would be shooting at 1080 60 frames. You want half speeds, just a little bit of slow motion going on, without like any dramas and things like that. For most vloggers and beginners, you probably will notice it anyway, because you may not even use it. But overall, I actually think the EM10 Mark IV is a very capable camera once again. And in the heart, of course, you're still using the same TruePic 8 sensor and also TruePic 8 processor, but an upgraded 20 megapixel sensor without PDAF, which is face detection AF. The difference between the two, to me, is unless you are doing a lot of tracking stuff or using any of the legacy Zuiko lenses from the 4th era, you're not likely to see any differences. And to be honest, I actually think that it feels snappier, which I'm going to do a demo in a minute, and so you can see exactly how fast it is. It's actually very good. And also, according to Olympus, the AF algorithm is completely revamped and is now using the exact same algorithm, not the same system, exact same algorithm from the EM1 Mark III. So that means that you will get the enhanced eye and face detection, and that is pretty cool. And I can also show you that live here as well, which is actually fantastic. So And it does work, and I'm telling you that it does work. But what shocked me the most is that now it can become a proper video camera for tracking. And it's still not as fast as the camera with the hybrid system, both the contrast detection and also face detection, like the CDAF and the PDAF together. So it's not going to be as fast. So like if you're moving a lot in and out, left and right and center and things like that, the camera will struggle a little bit. But if you are relatively still in the center or moving fairly slowly at walking speed, the camera actually does a fantastic job. And that means that vlogging with the E-M10 IV is absolutely feasible. So that is fantastic. So let me just demonstrate that right to you now, and how everything works. So I'm not going to flip out the screen because I can't see the screen at the moment once it's connected to this thing. So I am going to, let me see what mode I'm on. Let me just go into the, now it's in aperture priority. So let me just switch it on to my camera view. So this is, obviously you can see that face detection is on. It's really weird that it doesn't see the eyes at the moment, but it does actually do highlight it if you press on it. And see? So the eye detection does work very well, if you can see that. Very good. So you can see that it's actually working very well, and it does track it really, really cool as well. I would say if you use the CDAF in CAF mode, continuous autofocus mode with this, let me just bring it down a little bit more, go back up a little bit. And the jitter will still be there because it's still essentially a CDAF. But I'm going to demonstrate a little bit in the video mode in a minute, so because it's actually very cool. So let me just do it one more time demonstration. So even though like, I'm at a little bit of distance now, I'm just stretching my arm so you can still see that the camera still see the eye very well, and you can see that. And at the moment, I'm actually using CAF. Yeah, you can see the setting there is CAF. It's actually doing really, really a good job of actually tracking myself, and it's good. And now if we move a bit closer, so you can see that, like if I hold the shutter button halfway, half press it, you can actually see exactly what I talk about the jitter for the continuous AF. Like if I hold on to it, right, can you actually see the AF system is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But this is actually very, very common with any sort of camera system with contrast detect autofocus. You can't get rid of it. It's how it performs, because he's trying to find the right contrast and all the sharp lines before it determines that this is in focus or not. So this is how it works. Unfortunately, you can't do that, and this is exactly what happened with Panasonic cameras. They have all the same CDAF system, and no matter how good it still does the same thing. And that's why a lot of the Panasonic cameras are not great for video if you are using autofocus, just because that it will do this kind of jittery thing, you know, like going back and forth all the time. It can be very annoying in video, but in video mode, it's totally different now, because it won't do that for some reason, and it's actually very good. So let me just switch on to the video mode now. So let me just go back to the live cam again. So let's go to the second cam. So you can see that if you switch on to the menu system is exactly the same. So once you switch on to the movie mode, you will allow you to select different options, of course, and 4K, you just do normal videos. Or high speed, which is the slow-mo thing. So let's go to 4K. So this is 4K at the moment. So once again, I'm using MIS1, so you can see that the image is cropped slightly, and so it's not as wide as you would like. But let me just turn up a little. I'm not using the correct shutter speed, I'm telling you. I'm just doing for demonstration purposes. So just to get the correct exposure, because I would like to show you the shallow depth of field, and also how well it tracks me, because in video mode, unlike photo modes, I don't have to half press the shutter button to activate the continuous focus. In video mode, it's automatic, and everything is just tracking in real life. And you can see that there is no jittery, there's no you know, going back and forth now, and it's actually really, really good. So if I move away a little bit more, you see, it's working well, right? It's actually working really well. And so if I just do this, the hand, it should focus on the hand, very good, and go back to my face. It works almost as good as the EM5 and the EM1 series, which is shockingly good. I'm actually quite happy to see the continuous AF working so well on the CDAF system. And if you ask me, the E-M10 Mark IV continuous autofocus is it will beat even the G9 and the GH5 series in the Panasonic system. And even though they both using CDAF, and but the E-M10 algorithm works so well that it doesn't hunt anymore, and it's actually really cool. So it could be a very good vlogging camera because of the price point, and also because of how well it works in continuous focus in video mode. So it's actually very good. So let me just coming back here to my normal cam here. So far so good. Hopefully you guys have any sort of question you can fire straight at me and I will be able to answer. But so far I'm super impressed. Like I said, I haven't done the review yet. I'm still testing the camera in full. I will be taking it to my holiday and I'll be shooting exclusively with this camera and a couple of lenses. So I'll be able to show you more sample images, more footage, because I'll be using this for all my B-rolls, just to see how capable it is. I'll be shooting everything in 4K, so you can see anything in glorious Olympus details. So that will be really cool. So let's see, answer some questions first. And I know that Robin and Peter are talking to a lot of people. Let's see here. I'm scrolling back a little bit here. Right. Right, how do I win the new cameras? Oh yeah, about my competition, isn't it? Yes, I'll tell you all about it later on in maybe towards the end of the video. And okay, right, let me see. Finally, yes. Hated that on the E-Mark III you can switch scenery mode to use electronic shutter. I know. That's exactly one of the main complaints of the Mark III was just that. People can't use the electronic shutter apart from switching on the scenery mode or the AP mode, which is actually quite annoying. So now you can actually use an PASM and think that that will please a lot of photographers. In fact, if you're just looking at just from superficially, this camera can actually be my workhorse, you know, because I don't use a lot of the special features that really like for specialists and things like that. Like Starry Sky AF, I know it's fun, it's very effective, it's very cool thing to do, but I don't shoot stars, I don't do actual photography. It's cool to have fun every now and then, but it's not something that I do. I shoot mostly people, and the enhanced eye face autofocus works so well with this camera. That means if I throw in a 45 1.2, 25 1.2, 17 1.2, or even other lenses 75 1.8, this will be a killer combo and at so low a price point. And I think it's actually a very cool and a budget camera. And even I think for any sort of beginner professional should also consider this. If even as an experienced professional can use this as a second or backup camera. And that's how I rate it. This is so far, and it's very good indeed. Right. Let me see. Oh yeah, Peter, how did you find about the E-M5 Mark III and the E-M10 Mark IV? I haven't seen your video. I saw your thumbnail, but I haven't really clicked on it. And it must be very good. Though. It must be very fun to compare these two cameras, because I do have them right here. I do have all of them here, to be quite honest. And because let me just give you my video mode at the moment. So I do have these stuff here. I have the E-M10, so the E-M10 Mark III. I have the E-M5 Mark II. I have the E-M1 Mark II, and I also have my. I'm trying to get it. It's dropped onto the floor. I'm dropping my camera. Right, I have it right here. This is the. This is my E-M10 Mark III. So I do have a whole bunch of them here. So like you can see that I have all of them here, which is fantastic. So I can do a big massive comparison and between all these cameras. That might be a bit too much though. So and it would be too much work, to be quite honest. So I might just pick a few and just do some quick comparison between them. But overall, I think I'm actually pretty impressed with the latest camera so far, and it's definitely much better than E-M10 from just a couple of things I just mentioned. The CAF is working brilliantly and smoothly on the video mode on the Mark IV, and also the enhanced eye face tracking is good for a lot of people who like to shoot portraits, even like a semi-professional or just portrait enthusiast, you will find the new Mark IV is a very, very good camera. And whether you need to spend extra for the EM5 Mark III, it's entirely up to you. Obviously, it's a very different system here. This is a fully weather seal, a slightly more professional. It's got a little bit of more features than the EM10, but for most people out there, you know, I would say like 90% of the people out there, I would say the Mark IV is worth that just to getting this instead of Mark III EM5. So let me just drop it down for now and answer some more questions. So let's see there. Right. Hello from Korea. I can't pronounce your name, but hello from Korea. And Jason, right. Is it true that it doesn't have a clean HDMI output? Correct. It doesn't have a HDMI output, even though I am connecting to the streaming machine at the moment, but it only streaming as a monitor mode. It doesn't give me clean HDMI, so I cannot record from this output here, because when it's in monitor mode, it only sends out whatever resolution the back screen is, which is only very, very limited. So you can't really have a full 4K 1080 even, you know, in terms of resolution, so you don't have any of that. So unfortunately, this is not a, I would say, a proper video camera. If you really want to record externally and get the highest quality possible, this isn't the camera. But like I said, this is still a beginner level, entry level camera, so I'm not surprised that Olympus didn't include that. But if you want something like that, of course, then that you will have to go to the EM5 Mark III, and which does give you the clean HDMI output, will give you all the external recording capabilities that you would like to have from the Olympus system, and which is actually good. If you do use that external system, you will get a much higher quality from shooting ProRes and all the other stuff at whatever output that you can get from the Olympus. I think it's 420. It's not 422, 420, and so it's still pretty good, in a decent bit rate, and I think that the quality actually is not as bad as what people are actually talking about. And frankly, if you are solely doing home projects, some sort of general projects, and sharing your videos on social medias, you will not be able to tell any difference between 422 and 420, whether it's 8-bit, 10-bit. You can't really tell, to be quite frank. All compressed on social media, and yeah. Any sort of subtle differences you will not notice at all. I mean, look, I shoot videos using the EM1X and the EM1 Mark III, and I didn't even use external recorder. I'm only using internal encoder, so it's not something that I would like to say. I would say that is bad by any means, because all my clients love it. And in fact, I did a couple of projects for Olympus in Europe. They you know, this all shot with the Olympus system, you know, the EM1X and the EM1 Mark III. No problem. You know, these are commercial jobs. That is totally okay, and they totally accept it. And many commercial clients that I have also don't even need 4K, to be quite honest. They only need 1080, and so everything is all in good. And people are just over exaggerating a lot of the problems that presented to them from the marketing people from other brands. And I just think that people need to re-educate themselves, similar to resolutions in cameras. A lot of people always think that 20 megapixels is not enough, 16 megapixels is not enough, but I always said, you know, really gauge what you need as a photographer. You know, how you present your work to the public. You know, whether you only just do it online only, whether you're going to be doing exhibition prints, whether you're going to be going to a billboard, you know, doing commercial jobs. All this will be taken into consideration. What sort of camera, what sort of resolution, what sort of thing you should be getting for your work. You know, these are essentially tools for you. You know, like nothing. There's no right or wrong here. There's no like bad cameras these days, to be honest. If you go onto camera stores there, you see like, you know, 50, 60 cameras lying on the shelves. You know, all of them, and I mean all of them, can take brilliant pictures. But you have to see whether you want a small system, mobility, you want efficiencies, or you want, you know, the high megapixel, because you do need those megapixel for work. Everything it has to be calculated. You know, like there's no one system suit everybody. You know, I came from a much bigger format platforms, and I see the benefit of having Micro Four Third, and I'm happy to use Micro Four Third because it suits my needs way better than the bigger format. As simple as that. It's not that I'm trying to rave about it because I'm an ambassador. But, you know, nothing like that. It's just simply because of what I need to the system to perform for me. Okay, Roman, the camera is still working, not burnt, unlike the Canon Cripple Hammer R6. It's getting a bit warm, but actually it's warm from here. And but the E-M10 Mark IV does generate some heat when you do videos, and I actually do notice that because I was filming a little bit earlier, and I do generally see that it does generate a little bit heat, but nowhere near to the point that you will get, it would say overheating or shut down, to be quite honest. And I think so far from my own experience, because I do a lot more videos than probably a lot of you guys using Olympus system, that I found that the overheating never ever is an issue for any Olympus cameras I tried and used before. Obviously nothing could beat the E-M1X in terms of ultimate heat dissipation and heat design, because this guy here, which I'm using right now, the E-M1X, can shoot the entire day without any overheating, yeah? Even at 40 degrees Celsius out there. I mean, I've done it a couple of times in a very hot environment. I was melting, but the camera did not fail me at all. It was continuously running, and I was actually quite shocked at how it wouldn't overheat shooting at 4K. And it's amazing. So it's really, really good. And also, let's see that I will look at something cheaper than, oh no, sorry. Oh yeah, this, thank you. Right, this is UK exclusive. You can get Olympus merchandise through the UK store on the Olympus. I think if you are in the UK, if you want to buy this, they have 20% off at the moment, and by entering a code, I can't remember exactly what code. I think it's OLY5. I think it's called OLY5, OLY5. I think that's what it is. And so it's actually cool. If you go to the Olympus UK website and go into the online store, you can order this or any merchandise from Olympus with 20% off by entering the code. If you don't know, if it doesn't work, let me know, and I might actually put the code in the description later on after this stream, so you can find it. They have not only this, they have lots of other things. They have t-shirts, they have water flasks, buttons, pins, and badges. Really cool stuff. If you are a true fan of Olympus, yeah, you should get one of these. And oh, Rob is here. Rob's in the house. Hello, Rob. Nice to see you here. Robin, where are you going on holiday? I want to go for a holiday. Well, I'm heading up north in London. I mean, I'm not traveling because travel is still very much restricted in Europe, and I don't want to be quarantined, so I have to remain in the country. So it's something that I would like to do. You know, like I've been waiting to be able to travel once again, because I do have a lot of jobs that will require me to travel abroad, but that got completely cancelled. So I'm not traveling now. I don't know when I'll be traveling, but I'll be moving around. Let's put it that I'll be moving around within the UK and doing things. And but yes, I think I needed some sort of break after, you know, all these fiascos that I had experienced over the last 4 weeks. Family, you know, all kinds of things, and I stopped work, and then now I come back. I got bombarded by emails and also a lot of chases from a lot of things I was supposed to be doing, and so it's manic. So hopefully next week will give me some time to kind of like calm myself down, and even though I'll be shooting some B-rolls for some of the reviews I'll be doing, but hopefully I'll be enjoying the time off, and then come back I'll be fully focused, and my kids will be at school. Yes, my kids will be at school finally, and I'll be able to concentrate finally at work. You know, this 6 months, it's been horrible, you know, and not that I don't like to see my kids running around like all day long in front of me. I mean, I'm really enjoying that, but it really disruptive when it comes to work, you know, and because school has been cancelled for 6 months in the UK, and it's really disruptive, you know, as a parent. With kids staying at home, and it's not that we can go out that often, you know, still pretty much, you know, you want to protect yourself and the family, so you're not really going out too much, and so they're at home all the time, and if they're at home all the time and I'm trying to work, they're trying to film like now, and it's going to be extremely challenging, you know, and that's why like making the videos for YouTube is becoming a big problem for me. You know, the video that you saw me doing on the 100 to 400 lens took me 5 days, you know, to do. You know, it's I have to chop, you know, bits of it, you know, to film a little bit here, a little bit there, and it's when you come to work, you know, it's quite hard to do, you know, chop things like this. You know, you want to do it in the flow. You want to do it like, you know, and make sure that you have consistency within the video. When you're breaking them into multiple days, things becoming harder to control, you know, weather, lighting, and then you got a lot of issues going on. And I mean, I'm not a big budget Hollywood studio, you know, like this is just a YouTube channel, so like I don't have that sort of budget to have a lot of crews behind me, you know, like and doing a lot of post-production work, preparation work, even on-set lighting work. You know, I don't have any of that. I'm purely relying on natural light shooting. So like if the weather changes on a different day, that means I have to either write it off or have to completely change the strategy. So that's why that, you know, filming for YouTube has becoming a big problem for me, and for the last 6 months. And that's why you don't see many videos from me. It's just because it's virtually impossible for me to produce any kind of videos without having to like really plan it, really put you know, extreme pressures on myself, and to really kind of get something going. And so if for that, I would like to say apology for not being able to produce any more content until things get back to a little bit of normality there. And unfortunately, this won't happen until things get back to normal, to be honest. You know, like I said, I haven't seen Tracy in a while, and I haven't seen any of my models in a while, and it's not something that I you know, I don't, you know, I would like to do with them, but it's not something that is feasible these days, unfortunately. I mean, I'm still in touch with them. They also said the same thing. Oh, I miss coming out with you guys to doing, you know, or all your YouTube videos and stuff like that, and it's just not happening. And because everybody trying to protect themselves, they're not really going out until things that they think is safe enough to go out. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's just an unfortunate thing. But I know we're all in this together, so hopefully the things will become normal very, very soon, and we'll be able to go out again and travel again. I will be traveling to see Robin, Peter, you know, and everybody else, and Rob, maybe, you know, if I come up to US, that would be really cool, right? Let's see, Theo, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the session. I'm heading to the hills now. Oh yeah, good luck with your shoot. And thank you for joining me. And Theo is going to do a portrait shoot outdoor with a model. I'm envy of you, you know, like this is amazing. You know, like I said, I haven't seen any models for the last 5-6 months now, so it will be something I would like to see more, of course. And yeah, wow, Rob, thank you very much for that. And right. Wow, Jimmy has only hit on his table so many cameras I had in my life. Well, I guess that you know, one of the perks of being an ambassador is that you do get access to all this stuff, and so I guess in that ways I'm kind of lucky. But you know, before that, you know, I was already working for a number of companies, and they do send me some stuff every now and then. I will be able to look at them individually. But yeah, you know, being now a Micro Four Thirds shooter, an Olympus shooter, you know, I'm grateful that I'm in this position. That I'll be able to test all kinds of different cameras there, and hopefully it will bring you more informative videos about each of them. You know, whether past, present, and future, you know, like that will be something that I'm very enjoying doing and sharing with you my experience on all the cameras, gears, and with you guys, especially using kind of my own experience as a professional who work in the industry for nearly 20 years now, and I'll be able to tell you exactly how I feel about the cameras and using in that sort of environment as well. So yeah, it's a very cool thing. It's a very cool thing. And Christian, where is my E-M10X? Right. The one you're looking at right now is what I'm using right now. So this the E-M10X is actually using at the moment, and it's still my beast of camera. I still love it, and even though it's big and bulky, but I love it for reliability issues. And also when you use when I'm using the 100 to 400 lens, the E-M10X, it feels so good because it's balanced. And then if you use it on a smaller camera like the E-M5, E-M10, or even the EM1 without the grip, you will find it extremely front heavy. It's not the nicest feeling if you hold it for too long, but with the EM1X it actually feels quite good. It's just very natural when you hold it in your hand, and I do like that. If you're using a bigger, longer lens, I think the EM1X actually shoots better compared to the rest of the family here. So it does produce it does present itself as a professional camera. Of course, it's through and through a professional camera. Right from the design stage, the EM1X is designed to handle bigger lenses and also to be the ultimate rugged camera for professional photographers who go to really hostile environments. I think that this is really the only camera that I would ever trust. If I go to something really, really difficult, that will be something that I would like to highlight, because there are still people hesitating about the EM1X, and of course the EM1 Mark III and the Mark II even, are great cameras, and I love those cameras because that's how I started with the Micro Four Thirds journey professionally. But the EM1X is just another level, and I just still love it for it. And Olympus still producing firmware for it, and then the hopefully up and coming firmware update will give me more options and more things to play with, and that will be really cool. Right, another Olympus camera without a mic input and without ability to charge while shooting, and useless for live streaming. It's best for hybrid shooting if the spec then right. It does have USB charging, and then it does have a USB. It's micro USB, unfortunately not the USB-C. I don't think this particular model you can charge and use at the same time. Yes, so it may not be a streaming option, but having said that, this doesn't give you the clean HDMI out anyway, so that may not be something that you can use while for streaming purposes. But however, you can use and charge at the same time with the EM5, so you can actually do that, so that's not a problem. So as the EM1X, which I tried, it does work, it's fine. But the EM1X it does have 2 batteries, so you can actually use it for much longer, Peter. So I use my EM1X here, so I can actually capable of using almost 3 hours long of streaming without any interruptions. I don't even have to plug in anything. And also, the EM1X does have a proper AC input at the bottom of the camera, so you can actually plug it in to the main socket. Not even USB, you can plug it to the main socket and have this guy running continuously. So that's another thing. If you want to do like proper professional live streaming, the EM1X is probably by far the best option there. If you are going to be a prolonged shooting for videos, time lapses and things like that, this guy, you can run like 365 days a year without any problem, and it manages to heat very well, so it doesn't get overheat as well. Crazy about 10-bit, if you're doing crazy color grading like John Wick style, then it's well worth it. Yep, like for people who don't work in the video world, and to be quite frank, even if people who do work in the video world will tell you that some of the things that they talk about these days are nonsense, and not. I wouldn't say obviously 10-bit is good. You got more bit rate, you got more bit depth. You can actually color grade more, like you said. You can do more things to it, but to like 99.9% of people out there, the 8-bit is good because it doesn't. The file is smaller, it's easier to handle. You don't need a supercomputer to do your gradings and stuff like that. Because I'm telling you now, even with my machine, I'm spec'd out my Mac, yeah, and then it still struggle a little bit. Sometimes if I do starting put LUTs on, multiple layers on in 4K, forget about 8K, yeah, or 12K even. Like those things, you would need a proper supercomputer to do any sort of that work. You need a high-end graphics card as well. So like, this is something that people never ever thought about. Unlike photograph, you can still get by if you're using a high-res mode or like really large photo file. You can wait for it, right? You can wait because you don't have to do things live. But for video editing, you are actually looking at a timeline, scrubbing the video back and forth. Everything is live. You're trimming it, you're cutting it, all the clips that you recorded live. Yeah. So any sort of delays, any sort of performance degradations from the software of the computer is so severe that you make your editing job impossible. So that's why I think that having to manage the workflow, you need to have the proper system in place. So if your video work is not only for casual purposes. You really should consider having or set your camera at least to the proper output, you know, like 8-bit, you know, 420 instead of 422, 10-bit, you know, rather than shooting ProRes RAW, you know, you just shoot at just normal MOV, you know, the H.264, H.265 even, you don't need so much of the raw stuff, you know, like it may sound glorious, like the raw file in photography, but in videos it's totally different story. You know, your computer will not be able to handle it. I can guarantee that. Once you start editing it, throwing a little bit of color grading to it, a bit of effect to it, you know, you will literally cripple your system, and nothing you can do about it. That's how it is. And so yeah, you're quite right there, Camille. I think that people are definitely overrated about a lot of the stuff there, and frankly, once you export your video and put it on social media, I bet most of the people won't be able to tell the difference between 8-bit, 10-bit, 422, 420, nothing. I don't think anybody can tell. Right, and let's see. What about the autofocus difference between the E-M10 Mark IV and the E-M5 Mark III? Right. George, in what respect when you talk about the focus differences? In terms of single AF, and I think they're very equal, and to be quite frank, and I think that because of the dual AF system on the higher end camera like the E-M5, the E-M1 series, in SAF mode is actually using contrast detect, and so it's not actually PDAF. When you do tracking and continuous focus, that's when PDAF starting to be employed. So there's a switch there. So that means in single AF mode, the system is actually almost the same. You know, and the E-M10 Mark IV and the E-M5 Mark III in single AF mode, I can possibly very confidently say that they are exactly the same thing in terms of speed wise, unless you switch on to a continuous autofocus, and that is very, very different. So let me do a quick demo since you asked. Let's go to my cam now. So this is in okay, movie mode. Now let me just switch back to, right, this is aperture priority, so hopefully you can see that I have the autofocusing point set to middle. Right, so like let's see, I can now that, so I could do this, so that, and I can do this. Oh, this is still in CAF, sorry about that. So let me just go back to single AF, so that will be better. Okay, yeah, there you go. Better, better, good, good, good. Mind you, there will be a little bit of delay here because I'm using a streamer, so like it's taking some of the processing power from the actual processor itself. So, but everything else is working as should, and you can see it's actually pretty okay. It's fast enough. It's almost as fast, I would say, if not the same as the E-M10 E-M5 Mark III. Now let me go back to it, and maybe I can. Well, this is only F2 at the moment. Let me see if I can connect to the E-M5 to let you see. Only if I have battery in it. I do have battery. Right, let me see if I can do a live demo here, but let me just take out the L bracket, because the L bracket is blocking the actual port itself slightly. So let me just taking off so you can see the thing properly. Right, it will be a little bit unfair if I test the camera with the Pro lens, because the 12 to 40 is lightning fast in terms of focusing. But let me see if I can change the lens, what I'm doing. Right, okay, let me just unplug the thing and put it into my E-M5 Mark III, so you can see the exact difference between the two. And obviously I can't do it side by side because I don't have two, well, I do have two streamers, but I don't have enough capture card to be able to demonstrate both live. So I have it mounted on my E-M10 Mark III now. I'm going to throw the same lens on, so you will be able to see the difference. Right, let me just turn it on. Hopefully it will see it. Let me just check whether it has the video output now. Yes, it has. Great stuff. So let me see if I can see that. Right, okay. Now let's go to my second cam, which is now, this is the EM5 Mark III. So let's go and see it. So let me just go to the, so let me just change the focusing point to the same thing. Woo! Okay, great. So there you go. Right, you can see that it's basically the same thing. So there's no difference in speed whatsoever. It's exactly the same thing like I mentioned earlier. And so hopefully this will give you a good idea about the two systems. And but in continuous autofocus, of course, is totally different ball game. And the EM5 Mark III will definitely trump the over the EM10 Mark IV, because it has PDAF. Of course, it's going to be faster, more accurate. But like I demonstrated earlier, I think the autofocus in video mode is definitely shockingly good. It's really working well for that. So I have to say bravo to Olympus to be able to manage PDAF continuous focus in video, which is actually really something. I like it. D-Diver, how do you find your models, and are they friends or from an agency? Right, both. And to be honest, when you shoot professionally, you will come across agency, you will come across friends who know models, and so I've been of both, to be quite frank. And there used to be a lot of online agents which you can actually collaborate with, and so like I think one of the old ones that I used to look up to was Model Mayhem. I think they still exist, and they have a whole bunch of portfolio there. A lot of models there are still looking for collaborations to build up the portfolio, and yeah, I'm pretty sure you can contact them. And Instagram is another good place to look for them. A lot of them will ask for collaboration. You can see them on the bio. They actually say collaborate, so you can just ask them. If you don't ask, you never get them. So just ask them whether you want to collaborate in your country, in your near your city. So that will be places that I would search for. If you've got a portfolio and to show them straight away, or your profile already showing some of the photos you've done before, if they like it, they're more likely to say, yeah, okay, let's do something together. So it's as simple as that. But it's very straightforward. There's no secret about it. It's very easy to find them. But once I work with a few that they're comfortable with, there's sometimes they always come back and they just ask you to do more stuff with them. And of course, because of my YouTube channel, and they always like to be part of it, because like Zoha, for instance, because she's actually an actor, and so she loves acting in front of the screen, and use it as a practice. So it's actually quite good. Yeah, I like all of them. I think they're all very talented models, and of course they've got like beautiful faces, and they also we gel together quite well on screen and off screen, so which is actually a very good thing to do as well. For me, even the EM10 Mark III or the EM5 Mark II is sufficient for travel, vids, but it's usually depending on what you're filming, and if you're for yourself or for video production. You're quite right there, actually, because when I talk about how good the EM10 Mark IV continuous autofocus is, it really depends. If you're a filmmaker, if you are shooting around, not you, but like not for yourself, but you're shooting like around things and doing a productions, and I think that any cameras will do the brilliant job, because most likely you are going to use manual focus anyway. But continuous autofocus for face detection, it works really well when you're filming yourself, like a YouTube channel, for instance, or streaming like what I'm doing now, and things like that. I think automation is really a big help, especially if you don't have a second person there manning the camera. And that means that the EM10 actually is a very good vlogging camera, because you don't have to worry about focusing too much. You don't have to do prefixed manual focusing anymore, so you can actually just relying on the autofocus, and it does work. So it seems actually very good. But you hit the point there very well. If you're filming travel videos for small productions, and any system works well, very well. Okay, and are you talking to me, Camille? Yeah, well, every time I go out, yeah, it's not going to be good weather. So, yeah, well, that means I might have to bring in my weather seal camera instead of the EM10 Mark IV, because it is not weather seal. That's one thing I have to stress. Like any of the EM10 before it, Yep, it's still not weather sealed. So, well, I'm not surprised because this is an entry-level camera, and Olympus doesn't want to include any weather sealness to it, because otherwise it would make it like an E-M5 Mark III. So they don't want to cannibalizing, you know, the two models competing each other, because they are very distinctively different, or have a very distinctive different market. So, you know, this is aiming for, you know, beginner, and also for people who just do some casual shooting, and also people who learn about photography and do some casual filming. And E-M5 is more enthusiastic, you know, and is going for the people who shoot a lot more, having great interest in photography and a bit more filming. They want to make use of a lot of features that it has on the slightly higher end system. And of course, then ultimately the EM1 series, which is essentially the EM5 series, but with pro bodies for reliabilities and ruggedness. And so that these are the different levels of cameras. Just like any manufacturers out there, this is exactly the same thing to have the beginner, the enthusiast, and also the professional system to suit different needs. So people always think that professional systems are better than the mid-range cameras, and to be quite honest, in terms of features, they're almost identical. The difference between the main difference between the two is that the professional does have all the reliability thing to throw into it, you know, and as a pro, you know, reliability worth more. I'm telling you now, as a professional, worth more than anything else. You don't want to turn up when your gear fails, and that's when you fail as a photographer. So, yep, I will pay anything for reliability, and that's why I got the EM1X, because it has the ultimate reliability. And George, can anyone become an Olympus ambassador? Of course. I'm a normal guy. I'm not something like a superhuman being. I don't born with Olympus gear, and I don't actually start using Olympus gear since I picked up my very first camera. My very first camera is actually Ricoh, and then I used Canon for a long time. Then used Leica a little bit. I used Minolta a little bit. So yeah, anyone can become an Olympus ambassador. All you need to do, like I said from last week's stream, I think, and is that master your skills. You know, be a very competent and consistent photographer, and then also believe in what you do. You know, if you believe in Olympus, and that's good, and that's a good start. And and remember to showcase your work and online, and because a good social platform, a good following will help you get noticed by Olympus. And once you get noticed, yes, you are literally open the door, and which level you're going to be inside Olympus, and that's another thing, because because different countries have different system apparently. So I know that Peter and Robbins are you know, Olympus visionaries, and you know, there are educators in the US. In the UK we have mentors, and we have in the UK we've got 3 levels. So we have mentors, we have ambassadors like myself, we have visionaries, but the visionaries in the UK is slightly different to the visionaries in Europe and Asia, and it's kind of weird. I actually don't understand them at all. And, but anyway, so yeah, anyone can become one, so there's no limit to it. Just keep doing what you do, be good at it, be great at it, and also believe what you do, and believe in the system. And belief is the one single thing that you, if you want to become any ambassadors, because if you don't believe the brand, you don't believe the system or the equipment that you're using, and when people come and challenge you, you know, it's harder for you to kind of, I wouldn't say defend, but I would say that to explain, you know, why I believe this is a better system. And like I said so many times in my videos, in my live stream, that you know, there is no perfect system out there. You know, Olympus is suitable for my needs, and I explain why I need this system more than anything else, and why it's more suitable for my needs than anything else. As simple as that. You know, it's something what you're passionate about. You know, you have to say why you think that this is actually good or better than anything else that you do. So yes, the simple answer is yes. And let's see. To be honest, I would always prefer the 1080 120 over 4K 60. Actually, I'm quite like what you said there. And people are, again, overrated about 4K 60 as well. Even though I like to have 4K 60, and because I shoot a lot of 4K content, but I like to play with slow-mo a lot as well. So having 120, even 240 frames per second would be really cool. And I don't have any Olympus camera can do that, but I do have a Sony camera, it's a little one, the RX100, that does 240 frames per second. And but it overheats in 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. It just like gone, say warning, shut up. And so Sony cameras never really good at heating, and it still does it. So yeah, I second that. Oh, Randy, hello there, howdy from San Diego. How are you, mate? How are you? Hope you're well. And 131 Logan, hello Logan. How are you too? And any other question? I'm just trying to see there. Right, Victor, hello there. And have the Olympus the possibility to try the camera before buying by sending and decide equipment by post? And I don't have around any Olympus representative around. Local shop doesn't at all. Right. You have to find your closest Olympus depot website. Depending which country you're from, you have to email them. In the UK, we do have what they call the test and buy system, test and something system. Yes, in the UK we do have that system as this procedure in place, so you can actually go and try it first before you buy, basically, and which is a great opportunity for people who are new to Olympus system. You want to experience what it's like, and you are able to contact them and they will send you the equipment so you can test them out. So it's a very simple thing. So if UK has it, I'm pretty sure a lot of places will have it, but you just have to contact the relevant countries or locality based on where you live and which country, city you're from, and you just have to ask. Unfortunately, I can't answer for everybody because I'm from the UK, so it's just depending on where you are. But I'm very certain they will have something similar. That they do post it out, so like so that means that yeah, if I say yes, they probably would have it. Oh, Randy, any news on the E-M10X firmware? Not as yet. I know it's in development, like Olympus already confirmed it, so that means it is coming and I'm waiting for it because I have the E-M10X as well, so like, I'm just waiting for the new firmware to come out, and I'm pretty sure they're working really hard on it, and because I'm pretty sure there will be a few surprises, and so I am quite curious and also very eager to wait for the new firmware for the E-M10X, because the bird in flight would be cool. I'm seeing to have learned a little bit about bird in flight photography since I tested the 100 to 400, but like I said, I'm not going to buy that lens because I'm waiting for the 150 to 400 and so that will be my take on it, but it'll be fun. And hello Calnet, and I'm honestly looking into Olympus as my first camera, and the E-M10 Mark IV sounds like the perfect first camera for me, and it's compact too. Any difference between E-M5 Mark III and the E-M10 Mark IV? Right, I have both right here for you, so I can tell you all about it right now. All in all, if you are a beginner, if you are new to photography, I think personally you should go with the E-M10 first. And I know you are very tempted to get the more expensive E-M5 Mark III, and it is a more capable camera by any means. It's got more features, it's got better red sealness, it's got a lot of stuff with the camera, and but doesn't say that this guy is not capable at all. This thing has a lot of features that you will need to learn as well. So and this will go a long way, to be honest. And I'd rather you spend the leftover, if you already have the budget to get the E-M5 Mark III, spend on a few new lenses that will go with your E-M10 Mark IV, and that will be a long-term investment, so that it will give you all the lenses that you need for other things in the future. So when you are ready, when you are fully accustomed to the Olympus system, the how it works, what the features, how it functions, and also your photography skills as well. Once your photography skills matures, then and only then, considering getting an upgrade for the camera body. But if you got good lenses to start with, you already have the good lenses. You don't have to buy them anymore. And that's it. So that's why I would suggest you to get the E-M10 Mark IV to start with. And in terms of actual differences, like I mentioned earlier, the features alone probably very similar. And if you don't shoot video, you can forget about the video features. But autofocus is the main difference. PDAF, which is face detection, and on the EM5, the EM10 only has contrast detects, which is actually still capable of doing a lot of stuff. Unless you are planning to shoot with a lot of things that are moving, then in that case, yes, the EM5 will be better suited for your purposes. But overall, the EM10 Mark IV will be able, or sufficient to for a lot of the stuff that you want to do in photography. So yeah, I think it's a good choice. Right, which camera would you recommend for video? At the moment, I use my EM10 II, but I'm not happy with it just for video, for footage that doesn't look good. Well, first, George, the EM10 Mark II does only 1080, so yeah, I'm not, and it's quite old as well. It's comparatively that you're looking into a very old spec of the video side, from video side on Olympus. So if you want something that is greater, newer, more capable, and sharper and crispier, you have to looking at the camera system that can produce 4K. When I say 4K, you know, and you don't need to shoot 4K, but the 1080 sample is actually slightly better because it's capable of shooting 4K to start with. And I'm not talking about oversampling either. You just somehow the footage on the EM for the 4K capable cameras looks better than the 1080 only cameras. So that means that the EM10 Mark IV should be better by default. But if you want something that is actually better, and depending on your budget, if you're already using the EM10 Mark II, you can go for the EM5 the Mark III, because it has a flat profile which doesn't exist in the EM10 series. Better still, if you can afford it, go for the EM1 Mark III, which has a lock profile, which is even better, and you can actually do a lot of grading stuff to it. But either the EM5 Mark III and the EM1 Mark III both have what they call the C4K, which is a high bit rate, high dynamic range for video codec. So it's actually very, very good if you want the ultimate quality from videos from Olympus. You will need those cameras that are capable of shooting C4K, and that's the best one. And which that the EM10 Mark IV doesn't have, because it can only shoot regular 4K. Which tops out at about 100 megabit per second, while the C4K does give you 250 megabit per second on both the EM5 Mark III and the EM1 Mark III. So hopefully that helps, but if you want really good quality for video, you have to go for either of the systems. Yep. Adrian, good afternoon. And it's raining in southwest Hertfordshire. It is raining here as well, which is a horrible, horrible day. And, but I'm here having coffee, so it's always good here, right? And so this is your older camera. Yeah, I think if you want really, really sharp stuff, shooting 4K and the C4K even better on the latest videos, cameras from Olympus, and then output it in 1080, and that you will see the difference. I can guarantee that you will see the difference. It's way, way sharper than the 1080. And that's speaking from experience, that is. Oh yes. Yes, I know it's been tested, right? It's been tested. I'm not surprised, but it's not me, unfortunately. And right, let's see. Thank you. Not as yet. It's still a bit of a mess at the moment. Maybe at some point, once my studio is done, once I can move out of my dining table, and I can give you a tour. Contrast focus always needs to hunt. Well, it's not. The hunting of the contrast detect AF is how it works. Actually, is unfortunately it's not actually hunting. Well, it is hunting, but it's just how the system was designed in right from the start, and that's why like nowadays people are moving away from the contrast detects AF and starting to use other systems like Canon using dual focus, and also like some other system using different things, and or hybrid like the Sony and also the Olympus system now have hybrid, and face detect. If you want tracking continuous tracking, face detection is still by far the best system and more accurate. And so I personally think that that's why I think Olympus is now having the best autofocusing system in Micro Four Third. You know, especially for video, there's nothing come close to it. Panasonic, you really can't use the autofocus for video. It's just really horrible looking. You know, it's got this like really going back and forth all the time. It really does your head in. It's not something that I would use for any sort of production work if I'm purely relying on autofocus. And but like I said, if you do use you do like shooting, not for yourself, and you're going out and shoot other things, and it's not too bad because you will be using manual focus anyway. Most of the filmmakers do. And hello, Eric from Hong Kong. Hello, hope you're feeling much better. Yes, I'm feeling much better. Thank you very much for asking. My gear is E-M10 14 to 40 Pro. You mean 12 to 40, 40 to 50. Looking for a new lens within 14mm. Would you suggest 7 to 14 Pro or lower? Ooh, lower. I do like lower lenses. There'll be a tough choice there. So depending on what your lens, what your requirement is, and also budget, of course. The 7 to 14, of course, is a great pro lens, and it's just got, you know, sharp optics by default, weather seal, but it's heavy, it's big, and also it doesn't fit normal filters. So depending on what you do, if you are shooting a lot of landscape that require filters, that may not be an option. It's just slightly more tricky to use, but it's a great lens. You know, I do have it. I do use it for a lot of indoor stuff. Laowa, on the other hand, is manual focus. It's not autofocus. So if you are very proficient on using manual focusing on the Micro Four Third system, then Laowa is okay. Laowa is good. I mean, I have a lot of Laowa lenses as well. I have the 7.5 and the 9mm, and they're both really fantastic on the Micro Four Third. The 7.5 in particular is just super wide. It's just crazy wide. I mean, just like 7 basically, it's 7 to 14, right? But it's a prime lens. It does give you f2 instead of f2.8 on the pro lens. So the Laowa 7.5 f2 is a very good and small option. It's very dinky, very small. I like it. I really do like it. And Rob, can you confirm that there is no clean HDMI output by holding down the info button? Sorry if you mentioned it, I lost connection. Right, I do not believe there is. Let me just have a look at it. Let me connect to my E-M10 Mark IV once again. I do not think it has a clean HDMI out because it's not stated in the spec. So otherwise it would be listed there. So I'm going to do a live check for you now, just to see whether it does have the clean HDMI out. It does only have regular HDMI, which shows you whatever you see from the back screen, and for monitoring purposes only, or to play back on the screen. So let me see now. So if I hold on to the, so let me go to it. So if I go to movie mode first, because you have, for any sort of HDMI stuff, you do need the movie mode. And I'm going to press on the info button. Beep. No, it does not. So like, if you press info, it goes straight to the 4K, standard video, and high-speed version. There's no clean HDMI. Even if I hold it, I'm actually holding it right now. So it's nothing happens. So let me just go back to regular 4K, so you can see it's still very good. And I like it. I like this new continuous autofocus on the E-M10 Mark IV. It's actually very, very capable for doing what I'm doing right now. It's fantastic, right? It's actually good. So Rob, there you go, answer the question. So no, it doesn't have clean HDMI output, and even though it's not in the system menu as well, because if for E-M10, sorry, for E-M5 and E-M1, you can actually select the HDMI output in the menu, but that option is not available on the E-M10 Mark IV. So I'm pretty sure that is not available. So cool stuff. Let's see then. And we went unibody structure. That's correct. That's very solid. Hello, Tim. Is there an option to use a button to change the wheel function like the E-M10 Mark II had and the E-M10 Mark III doesn't? Right. To be frank, I haven't gone that far yet, because like I said, I only have the camera yesterday, so you can ask, if Robin's still in the house, he can probably answer you, but I don't think he is now. He's probably late in Malaysia. So, or let's just see. I don't think there is any button for that. I'll report back to you once I have a good play of it later on. Because I know that's another thing that people did complain about the E-M10 Mark III was the customization of the camera itself. So I'm hoping Olympus would have adjusted. Randy, okay, being an ambassador is a very time-consuming thing to do. You have to be good at taking the product. Talking about the product. In a way, yes, but I guess, if you're really passionate about what you do, or really passionate about, you know, gears and photography in general, it should be quite a natural thing to talk about, right? You know, just like when we meet up, when we go to a pub, you know, chat about things, you know, photography, it's come up naturally, I guess. And so once again, you know, if you believe in something that you do, you know, it's natural that you can talk a lot about it. And but I guess, you know, sometime you've got to be maybe an extrovert, you know, and to be able to kind of talk a lot, like what I'm doing now. I'm just kind of talking non-stop, and you know, I'm soon going to lose my voice as well. Adrian and UK Olympus run the test, and wow, yeah, that's the program I'll talk about. It's a great service for trying Olympus gear out for 2 to 3 days free of charge. Yeah, I think yeah, that's the program I was talking about. Thank you, Adrian.
It's advertising. Just swipe it across. Just the advert. Just swipe it.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome. So yes, you didn't know that C4K is a lot better. It's way better than general 4K, and you'll see if you start shooting C4K, and once you get a camera that's capable of shooting C4K, you'll see a dramatic improvement in terms of sharpness, details, and dynamic range. The C4K will give you a lot more than just normal 4K, and that is really cool. I don't know, Ashton. I will tell you a little bit later, okay? Sorry, my son is talking to me. And right, Christopher said 50 style tripod solution needed for the Mark IV. I hope the market delivers something. Small rig, small rig. I do know small rig people. Maybe I can ask them to mix something for the E-M10 Mark IV. Yeah, I mean, I think. It's actually, you know, shockingly, and it's really shocking to me because I've never would have expected the E-M10 Mark IV to be this good in videos. It doesn't have C4K or anything like that, but in terms of autofocus tracking, you know, it really shocking to me how good it is. And like I demonstrated earlier, it really works for locking onto the faces. It doesn't hunt, and then even if I move around doing this and that, it will follow, which is actually the first time I've seen such a good implementation for continuous autofocus in contrast detection autofocus. So something to, I really have to say bravo to Olympus. You know, they made it work for the E-M10 Mark IV, and I hope it delivers. I hope people will start believing in it and start using it for vlogging or for other purposes, just utilizing that feature alone, because I think this is something to shout about. It may actually be overshadowed by other features that you know, that since YouTube says since Olympus announced this product, and also other YouTubers have reviewing it. But for me, that is probably one of the most outstanding features or improvement on the Mark IV, because previously I would not use any of the OM10 as E-M10 series to do any sort of self filming, because the autofocus is not working. I have to basically switch everything on manual focus and just set everything manually. But now it seems that I can actually use the E-M10 Mark IV to do just that, and that's amazing on its own. George is talking about the new Micro Four Thirds sensor. Right, it is about 4 years, but actually they have subtle differences there. You know, technically they're not really the same, even though the numbers is the same, like 20 megapixels. But if you look at each generation, look at the scores and in DxO, they are all slightly different. Even like from the very first 20 megapixel from PenF, then to the E-M1 Mark II, the E-M1 Mark III, the E-M1X, E-M1X and E-M1 Mark II is actually the same, but then the E-M1 Mark III and the latest crop of things, the E-M10 Mark IV and E-M5 Mark III, they're all slightly different. So it's not actually the same sensor. If you are then referring to maybe slightly different specs in terms of the high resolutions and high bit rate and things like that, perhaps, you know, and that is not happening yet, but we shall see, because now Sharp is looking into 8K video camera using micro four thread sensor. So like we shall see whether there will be a new generation or new crop of micro four thread sensors on the horizon. We shall see. You know, it's exciting, of course, but I'm not completely unhappy about it, because I'm actually happy about 20 megapixel. I don't want actually too much, to be quite honest, because of my workflow. I mean, I shoot too much. I shoot a lot. I mean, I'm shooting, not this year, of course, but like generally every year I shoot about 150,000 to 180,000 photos, and if I have to bump up the spec and everything like that, and you slow down my whole entire workflow, and this is something that I actually don't want to have, you know, as a professional. I just want to, you know, turn out my jobs very quickly and just make sure that I can work as quick as possible, because that's money, right? You know, as a professional, time is money. Let's see. Hello there. Does Olympus always provide a final firmware update version 4 for advanced model? I'm still waiting to see if there's any update to provide for my PanF and E-M1 Mark II before I upgrade them. They never really have a version 4 as the final. They never really kind of said that, to be quite honest, and I'm not entirely sure what number that is, but they tend to upgrade certain things if it doesn't work or something like that, so you may still see some updates even with the very old camera, but I would guess that's my own take, so it's not official, or it's off the book. The PanF and the E-M1 Mark II may have reached the final update, unless there is something that is basically broken, or if there's a new lens come out that will require compatibility, then they will release a firmware that will allow you to do just that, but that will be it. So in terms of new features, I don't think there will be any more. Like I mentioned previously, a lot of firmware update require newer processors to run, because like computers, you know, and unfortunately, you come to a point that the processor is just not fast enough to do some of the new features. So that means the TruePic 7, TruePic 8 will be reaching the limit to certain extent that you can't run certain things. But you know, you never say never, because let's say the E-M10 Mark IV is using a TruePic 8 processor, and that means theoretically they can bring in the enhanced eye and face tracking onto E-M1 Mark II and PanF. No, actually not PanF. PanF is TruePic 7, so it's actually even older processor. So the E-M1 Mark II could, you know, technically get the enhanced eye and face detection, but not entirely sure whether they will, and we just have to see. But other than that, I think that that would be my personal gut feeling. That will be the final update already happened, and there may not be any further new feature update unless it's actual fixing or for new compatibility issues. Yeah, Codec flexors are quite good as well. Yes, indeed. Right. You can't buy time, and you can buy equipment and to get it done faster. Of course you can. Of course you can. Right, okay, that's it, folks, and thank you for joining me and have a chat about the new E-M10 Mark IV. Remember to stay tuned on my review, of course, because I will be doing a thorough review on this little guy here, and hopefully give you more sample images and footage to look at, and also will be throwing my usual entertainment if I can. So hopefully you stay tuned for my upcoming review. I don't know when it's going to be out, because like I said, I need time to process and also film and edit all this stuff. It's still going to be a challenge for me over the next few weeks until the kids are back in school and things like that, so we just have to wait and see. And I still have a lot of backlog that I haven't done yet, and also Tech Tuesday is coming. It's coming. I'm not saying when yet, but because I'm still filming them, so let's see what happens. But anyway, I really appreciate all your support so far, and I know that today is a little bit of program clash there. I didn't actually know that Peter and Robin was actually doing a live talking about similar things early on. So you might be hearing a lot of repeated stuff that I'm talking about today's video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we're gonna have another chat. Not next week actually, it's following week, because next week I'm away, so I won't be able to do any live next Wednesday, but hopefully I will be able to do a video and post it. I'm not entirely sure how it works yet, but if you don't hear from me, I will update you on the YouTube community page so you know exactly what's going on, or better still, follow me on my Instagram and Facebook as well, because I'll be posting updates there, and if I have any sample images taken from the E-M10 IV, I will post it there. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again for joining me, and you guys all have a fantastic weekend and be well. And I'll see you all next time. See you later. Bye for now.